All right, so Tom Brady, he's very active on social media, if you guys haven't noticed. At least in the last 6 months, he's great. Well, how about this? He posted on Instagram that he thinks Lamar Jackson is a beast. At least he was letting Deion Sanders know all about that he is all about what the former Heisman Trophy winner can do. So back here in studio, guys, here on NFL Live, in about 22 years, Bill Belichick, historically, has never taken a quarterback in the first round of the draft. The highest he's ever drafted a quarterback was, of course, in that second round when he took Jimmy G, who, of course, is no longer with the New England Patriots. So you have to wonder how serious they are about taking Lamar Jackson and how early. So is this a genuine interest that the Patriots have in Lamar?
By all counts, it is a sincere interest, though they are, as they usually do, screening a lot of quarterbacks. But Lamar Jackson and Tom Brady, you couldn't see two different skill sets. But here's what we know. Bill Belichick's a visionary. And he also likes players who are very, listen, if they're a good athlete, they're a good athlete. The other thing is that Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, when he was in Denver, who did he draft? Tebow. Listen, there's no question this guy's skill set is better than that. So this league is headed in this direction, although they may not have this guy's skill set. But the word that I get, and others do get as well, is that they are scrutinizing him quite a bit.
All right, we got Mel Kiper Jr. here with us on our nice little plasma screen here. Mel, weigh in here in terms of what you think the New England Patriots should do in terms of Lamar Jackson.
Well, they have 4 picks, and Morton, everybody talks about, hey, needs of this football team go beyond a future quarterback. And if you're giving up picks to go up and get a quarterback, then you're not filling those needs. So you're not helping Brady this year, and you're not obviously moving forward, improving the base talent of this football team. Like if he's there at 23 and say Buffalo doesn't take him at 12 or 22, or Buffalo packages picks to move up, or Arizona doesn't take him, or Miami, whoever it may be, and he's there at 23, you do your due diligence. He's in the mix. But I think to give up picks with the Patriots having major needs in other areas would make a lot of sense to me. And I think it's pretty rich to say top 10, top 15 for Lamar Jackson, who is not Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was at 67% all 3 years or above. Lamar Jackson was at 57% for his career. So this notion he's the next Deshaun Watson, maybe, but it's going to take some time.
The Patriots have a unique situation this year compared to previous years, most recently the past 2 seasons. These 4 picks allow them, if they'd like to replenish a lot of youth on this roster. But here's what we know about the quarterback position. They need to add a young developmental arm to this roster. It's Brian Hoyer, and that's it, behind a soon-to-be 41-year-old starting quarterback. To Mort's point, they have done their homework on quarterbacks. But last year, there might not have been a team that was more active in its quarterback studies than the Arizona Cardinals. They didn't take a single quarterback when people had them linked to every quarterback available. So your homework can certainly be, we talked about this earlier, they're going to draft based on value. They're not going to, I don't think, overextend for a player at any position, certainly not at a quarterback, when they have their starter right now in Tom Brady, obviously for 2 more seasons under contract.
Yeah, well, we're talking about the Patriots doing their homework. Mel's obviously doing tons of homework on these players. More, you did some homework. You actually reached out to one of Lamar Jackson's former coaches from college.
Actually reached out to a lot of people just trying to get a handle. And, some people, there are some teams concerned whether or not, he is going to be a challenge to learn the NFL game from the traditional standpoint. But he's not a traditional quarterback. And I talked to Garrick McGee, who was his offensive coordinator at Louisville for 2 years. And there were some interesting points. And he said one of them was Lamar is going to need a coach who understands the way he learns. If a team takes the approach that they're not going to let him fail, he is going to reward you handsomely. And then I also did speak to Bill Parcells, a Hall of Fame coach, as we talked about. And one thing that Bill said, you get a kid like Lamar Jackson, and you need to find out what he does and what he likes. Too many coaches are married to their systems. Tell me what he can do, not what he can't do.
All right, Jeff Saturday here. I'm seeing
Bill.
the hands going up in the air. Why? What resonated with you there?
Everybody is a system guy. I mean, there are so few players that translate to every system or can go about and play in any system. Very few guys. I'm not going to think Julio Jones, maybe. I mean, you go through the league. As a player, I played in a system that fit my body type, my athleticism, you name it, my mental capacity, all those things. Every player has some type of limitation somewhere in their game. And you find what he does well, accentuate it, make it the best it can be, And it will reward you. It's when guys get stuck on, I'm going to do it this way, this guy has to do it this way every time, or he's not going to be my guy. If you go get a guy like Lamar Jackson, you take his best attributes and you glorify them to the greatest they can be, and then you see what you got there. And we said McDaniels did that with Tebow, went out and got a guy like that. This guy is a football, right, but this guy's a football player. To Fields' points about what Bill Belichick's like, this guy is a football player. Every time you turn the tape on, he shines.
But also to Mel's point, and I've talked to teams about this, they've expressed concerns about some of the accuracy issues. I know people say about Josh Allen, but it's different. There's, outside the numbers, some of those issues, although the counter to that is that in Bobby Petrino's offense at Louisville, there aren't those short passes or tunnel screens that Deshaun Watson was able to do. But I think this is one of those guys who's a polarizing prospect, considering that this guy won a Heisman and almost accounted for 90 touchdowns at Louisville.
Mel, where are the holes in Lamar Jackson's game when you've been watching tape of him?
Exactly what Moore said, outside numbers. I think the accuracy, he makes some brilliant throws. You put the tape on and you will see some wow throws. And also keep in mind, he didn't have the big-time talent around him. Deshaun Watson at Clemson had better players. Mike Williams, Jordan Leggett, Deion Kane, Hunter Renfrow, and others, okay? You think about who Lamar Jackson had. Lost his top receiver, lost his top running back, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. He doesn't want any talk of wide receiver. He put that to rest early on, didn't run a 40 because of that. And I think in New England or on a team with an organization that can develop him into 3 years, like Aaron Rodgers was in Green Bay behind Brett Favre, that would be an ideal scenario. And I think what Mort was talking about and everybody's up there is discussing is, hey, why did Bill Parcells and Bill Walsh basically say the same thing? Because they're Hall of Famers and they got it.
That's right.
Don't force him to do what you do. Do what he does and do what Bill O'Brien did with Deshaun Watson. I think it's the reason why Bill Walsh and Bill Parcells felt the exact same way. They were winners. They were Hall of Famers, and they can take a player and make him great where others will take him and ruin him. So if he goes to the right guy and the right team, Lamar Jackson in 3 years could emerge as a winning NFL starting signal caller.
Yep.
Just think, guys, a few weeks ago we were talking about him perhaps changing positions.
Well, I've heard people who feel the same way in this league as well, and maybe for 2 years if it doesn't work, as Garrett McGee told me, is this guy is too talented you don't want your best athlete standing on the sidelines for 2 years.
Yep.
So that discussion is going to come if he's not on the field playing quarterback in the first couple of years.
Okay, let me say this really quickly.
Yeah.
I think it's a disservice in a way that we talk about a player being able to just go into another position. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of really good receivers that run really crisp routes, find ways to get open, understand soft in the zone, what to do in man coverage. I don't like when people just go, what? He can automatically.
You're right.
That doesn't mean he's going to be a good player at that. I can tell you.
No,
it's like someone, hey, center, go move to left tackle. I'll play the line, right? It's not the same thing. I don't appreciate people just cast that net. That is a much more difficult transition than people act like it is.
Yep.
Well, a player that's certainly not going to change his position, I don't think. Des Bryant, right? All right, the Cowboys, they have released him. That's the biggest story of the day. Well, where could the fiery receiver land next? We're going to explore every possibility when NFL returns.